In this video we're going to show you how easy it is to repair your broken composite hockey stick using the do-it-yourself hockey repair system by Bison Hockey Sticks. First, take the contents of the kit. Here we have the composite inner repair sleeve, 2 packs of high-strength epoxy, some mixing sticks, a couple pads for mixing the epoxy on. We also have some sanding paper and a wooden end plug for at the end to extend the length of your shaft when we're finished. The first step is to take the inner repair sleeve and check it to make sure it fits into the openings of your broken stick. Now we've already cut the broken part off this stick using a hacksaw. Try to get nice clean cuts like that there. And ordered the proper sleeve based on that inner dimensions of that shaft. So now all we're going to do before we put any epoxy on or anything is just check for the fit and not shove it in too far, because if you shove it in too far it might not come out. This actually, it's gone in about an inch. If it goes in an inch or two, that's pretty good. Check the other side. Yeah, that'll fit in nicely there. So side marked A, side marked B. The A side is tapered so it fits into the blade end of your composite stick. B side is for the upper shaft. This one actually was a little tight going into the A side. That's fine, because that's where you're going to find most of the taper anyways. We have the sanding paper, we might as well sand a little off. I have some paper towel here to keep it kind of clean. What you'll find most of the time too is if the sides are fitting fine, it might be the corners, the inner diameter of the shaft might be more rounded than the corners of the repair sleeve. So in this case, we'll take the sanding paper and we'll just knock a little off the corners. And we're just going to do it on the A side of the repair sleeve because the B side seemed to fit pretty nicely into the shaft already. So we won't need to do much at all, just a quick little sand. How much you have to sand, or if you even have to sand at all, that depends on how it fits into your stick. If you made the right measurements and it fit in without any modifications, really that's all it takes, is just slide it in to check it. Sometimes though you have to sand off more of the surface either on the A or the B side. So that's step one. We check for check to make sure that it's going to fit in. Yeah, it fits in a little. It's still nice and snug, but that's fine. Also too, it's not a bad idea to check in the openings there. Make sure that there's no plastic film sometimes in there, some debris. Sometimes there's foam, especially as you get closer to the blade. Want to make sure all that is removed from inside the stick. So I think we're pretty good here. We'll move on to step 2, and that's to prepare the epoxy. So we'll move this out of the way and we'll start working on that. Okay, step 2. Your kit comes with two epoxy packets here. You're only going to need one for each side, so you need one to start. And we're going to start with the blade end of the shaft, repairing that. So that's the A section of the repair sleeve. And that's pretty simple here. It's epoxy, so it's a 2-part mixture. You need to snip off, and we'll fold it up, snip off the end. And then you can use the mixing pads here. Just squeeze the epoxy out of that. I don't know, I find it's easy just to kind of use the stir stick to do that. So there you go. Both sides are squeezed out. Just move that off to the side. You'll see it's clear. Well, actually it's white and a black. You mix them together, it's a nice gray. Just have to mix it up so you can't see any of the individual colors. That's pretty good right there. So step 3, after you have the epoxy mixed, is you got to prepare your stick for the repair. Now, again, you should check the inside of your shaft. Make sure that there's no no irregularities, make sure it's clean. I just usually take my finger there and just wipe out any dust that might have accumulated. You only need to go in 2 or 3 inches because that's only how far your repair sleeve is going to go in. And again, if you do see anything in there sometimes, like I said, there's the plastic film that they use when they're making the sticks. That might be in the way. You might want to push that back. I sometimes just use like a regular screwdriver. Just push it back if it's there. This one's nice and clean, nice and smooth inside there. Really don't need to do much more to it. So at this point, we're just going to go right ahead and we're going to apply the epoxy to the repair sleeve. And it's just like spreading frosting on a cake, I guess. We're only going to go about halfway up the sleeve, and we're going to make sure we get the ends real good, because what's going to end up happening as you push the sleeve in, it's going to push most of the excess epoxy out anyways. And there's plenty of epoxy here to do most repairs. And remember, right now we're only doing the one side of the shaft, the A side. Just smooth that out. Get that about halfway up the sleeve. That's ready to go. Now I'll just push this off this side. We have to stick it under. Hold on 1 second. Before I actually put the repair sleeve into the stick, what I like to do is take masking tape and just put some tape around here, because what's going to happen is there's going to be excess epoxy and it's going to squeeze out. And that way, if you have tape on there, you can, at the end, you can just pull the tape off and it's a nice clean edge to it. No, it's really nothing fancy. Just go to the edge, take the masking tape, tape it around, kind of leave it up a little bit so it's easy to peel off. So now we have our repair sleeve that we've already tested, so we know it's going to fit in there pretty well. Just got to get it going and slide it in. Now you only want to go about halfway. The repair sleeves are about 6 inches long, so if it's tight, which this one is a little bit, use a scrap piece of wood, and what you're going to end up doing is just banging the sleeve in. That's probably about 3 inches right there. We don't want to go too far. Yep, that's 3 inches exactly. So we have the first part done. We have the inner repair sleeve slid into the lower part of the shaft. As I mentioned, there's a lot of the excess epoxy there. No big deal. Now, normally we'd recommend waiting at least 24 hours, because that's how long it takes for the epoxy to dry before putting the second half of the section of the stick together. Reason for that, if the sleeve is loose, a lot looser than this one was. This one we had to knock in with the wood to get it in there. So I just know from experience that that's not going to go anywhere. But your sleeve might be not that tight. So by letting it dry, that'll reduce the chance of when you're putting the second half of the stick together, if it's real loose and the epoxy is not dry, it might shove this part of the shaft down further and not leave you with a good 2 or 3 inches for this end of the shaft. In this case, for the sake of this video, and I know that this is nice and tight down there, we'll just finish this up and we'll join the stick together, and it'll be that quick and that simple. So bear with me here. Get our, oh, get this on right. So we get our second pack of epoxy. Let's kind of move the epoxy away from the ends there. Get our scissors out, snip off the end, get our new mixing stick. And again, hopefully you can see the two parts of the epoxy there, which we want to mix up together so it's one nice uniform color. That's pretty good. So I'm going to have my upper shaft now to attach, and like we did on the lower shaft, to make the cleanup later nice and easy, we're just going to put some masking tape around the end here. bunch it up a little bit so it's easy to take off. Now we want to make sure we got the stick going in the right direction, so that looks about right. That's the way it should be. Not that way, that'd be upside down. So we'll put this off to the side. Now, as you can see, we're going to have plenty of epoxy. In fact, we could use some of the epoxy that's already on it here just to spread it around. This one was a little bit looser, so it might not squeeze out as much, but there'll still be plenty of excess epoxy, so we want to make sure we try to be neat with that. All we're doing is spreading it on, covering the corners, the sides. There we go. Get that out of the way. So again, we'll make sure we got the stick all lined up so it's going in the right direction. Get that in there. Slowly squeeze this together. There we go. Now, like we did at the other end, and I know you can't see it that well when we do this video, but if it was difficult to slide those two ends together and push it in nice and tight, you would want to take the blade end of the shaft above the cut and using a scrap piece of wood, you want to pound the upper shaft into the lower shaft. In this case, we didn't need to do it. We're able to repair that by hand, which is fine. And really now it's done. The epoxy is still pretty wet and messy. So what I usually do is wait about 10-12 hours. It gets softer, but it's dry to the touch. And then I'll just peel the tape off, and then any of the excess epoxy that wasn't on the tape, you can just peel that off usually with your finger or fingernail. And that's it. So we'll show you a picture of this in 24 hours, what it looks like, and it's really that easy. Okay, so we've waited 24 hours for the epoxy to dry. We've removed the tape and scraped away any of the excess epoxy here at the joint, so we have a nice clean edge. The stick looks good, feels good, flexes good, so the repair's good and ready to go. Our last step here now is to add the end plug that comes with the kit to the end of your stick to get it back to its original length. Before you do that, you want to make sure that you remove the plastic cap if it's still on your stick and any of the tape that's in the way there. You're going to take the wooden end plug that comes with the kit, heat up the glue end, get the glue soft, either with a hairdryer or a heat gun or some other heat source. You want to slide that into your stick. Then after that dries, you can measure and make a cut here to bring the stick back to its original length before the repair. And at that point, your stick is repaired and ready to play some hockey.